Welcome back to HR Masterclass, the channel where we unpack real-world case studies to understand how human resource management has evolved, from its historical roots to the present digital era, and into the future of work. In today's episode, we turn our attention to one of the most iconic tech giants of our time, Microsoft. Once plagued by a toxic internal culture and siloed operations, Microsoft has undergone a stunning HR-led transformation. At the heart of this transformation, a single powerful principle, the growth mindset. This is not just a story of HR policy changes. It's about cultural reinvention, people-centric leadership, and how HR became a strategic catalyst for innovation and sustainable growth. Let's dive into Microsoft's journey. Historical background: Microsoft's past HR model, founded in 1975 by Bill Gates and Paul Allen, Microsoft quickly became a global powerhouse in software and computing. But by the early 2010s, it had begun to lose its edge. Internally, the company was marked by siloed teams, business units operated in isolation, competing rather than collaborating, stack ranking system. Employees were forced into a bell curve performance model, where only a fixed percentage could be rated as top performers. Blame culture: employees often feared sharing ideas or reporting problems, in case it impacted their rankings. Top-down management: senior executives held tight control over strategy, stifling creativity at lower levels. From an HR perspective, Microsoft had become rigid, risk-averse, and internally divided. HR's role was largely administrative, focused on compliance, hiring, and performance management, not strategy or culture. The turning point: Satya Nadella's vision. When Satya Nadella took over as CEO in 2014, he recognized that Microsoft didn't just need a new strategy, it needed a new culture. In his words, culture is not static. It's dynamic, and it's what enables you to grow. He placed HR at the center of Microsoft's transformation, tasking the function with rebuilding the company's mindset, leadership behaviors, and internal systems. Key HR strategies and cultural shifts. 1. Embedding the growth mindset. Nadella embraced Dr. Carol Dweck's concept of the growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed through dedication and learning. HR took this philosophy and operationalized it across the organization by running company-wide training on psychological safety, feedback, and personal development, encouraging manager conversations focused on learning from failure, curiosity, and long-term potential, not just short-term results, highlighting internal success stories of employees who overcame setbacks to grow. We shifted from a culture of know-it-alls to learn-it-alls. Satya Nadella. 2. Redesigning performance management. Microsoft abolished the much-criticized stack ranking system. In its place, continuous feedback replaced annual reviews, developmental coaching replaced punitive evaluations, team collaboration metrics were introduced to measure contribution beyond individual output. New language was introduced: connects, impacts, and thrives, emphasizing collective success and personal growth. 3. Empathetic leadership development. HR overhauled leadership expectations across all levels. Managers were trained to become coaches rather than micromanagers. Empathy, active listening, and servant leadership became core leadership competencies. New managers were evaluated not just on results, but on how they enabled others to grow. 4. Prioritizing diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI. Microsoft embedded DEI into all people policies, including targeted hiring pipelines for underrepresented groups, disability hiring programs and partnerships with accessibility NGOs, transparent diversity dashboards to track progress across all business units. 5. Digitalization and people analytics. HR at Microsoft became a data-driven powerhouse, introducing predictive analytics to identify employee burnout, flight risks, and engagement levels, AI-powered hiring tools to reduce unconscious bias, personalized learning platforms tailored to individual skills and goals, real-time performance dashboards for managers to improve decision-making. Tangible results of the transformation. Areas and their impact. Employee engagement reached historic highs in trust, inclusion, and purpose. Innovation culture. Employees began sharing ideas freely, fueling new product lines, HR reputation, repositioned from admin to strategic advisor, leadership, managers became culture carriers. Not just task drivers, Microsoft consistently ranks among the top companies for inclusion, business, share price, and market capitalization tripled from 2014 to 2022. Looking ahead, Microsoft's future HR priorities, Microsoft's HR evolution is far from over. The company is now focused on hybrid work models that balance flexibility with human connection, neurodiversity hiring programs, especially in AI and cybersecurity, expanding mental well-being initiatives using digital coaching platforms, embedding AI ethics and fairness into HR algorithms and hiring systems. Key takeaways for HR professionals. 1. HR must lead culture, not just enforce compliance. In the past, HR was often seen as the department that policed rules, maintained contracts, and ensured legal compliance. However, the Microsoft transformation shows that in the 21st century, HR must move from a back-office enforcer to a frontline leader of culture. At Microsoft, HR actively shaped the organization's values, leadership behaviors, and team dynamics by embedding a growth mindset, encouraging collaboration, and aligning performance systems with long-term learning. HR leaders must therefore be culture architects, setting the tone, guiding behaviors, and helping leaders model the values they expect from others. Key insight: when HR owns culture, the business becomes more agile, resilient, and future-ready. 2. A growth mindset can be embedded into policies, systems, and leadership styles. The growth mindset, originally a psychological concept, was successfully scaled into Microsoft's daily operations, training systems, and leadership models. This was not a superficial initiative, it became a strategic philosophy guiding decision-making across the company. HR professionals must understand that mindsets and behaviors can be institutionalized. This requires aligning recruitment criteria with curiosity and adaptability, performance appraisals with learning, not just output, training with iterative learning and cross-functional skills. Key insight: HR can help create environments where employees feel safe to fail, eager to learn, and motivated to stretch their potential. 3. Inclusion and empathy are not just moral imperatives, they drive performance. Microsoft's renewed emphasis on empathy, emotional intelligence, and inclusive practices wasn't just about ethics or optics. These values translated into measurable improvements in team collaboration, innovation outcomes, employee satisfaction and retention. HR leaders must go beyond surface-level DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. They should create structures, such as psychological safety, inclusive recruitment panels, and equitable career development pathways that promote true belonging. Key insight: cultures that center empathy and inclusion outperform those that don't, both in terms of business outcomes and human well-being. 4. People analytics helps build a more human workplace. When used ethically, one of the most powerful lessons from Microsoft is that data doesn't dehumanize work, it can actually humanize it when used with purpose and integrity. Microsoft used people analytics to identify burnout patterns early, improve team well-being, build inclusive promotion pipelines, tailor learning to individual growth journeys. However, this only works when ethical safeguards are in place. HR professionals must prioritize data privacy, transparency, and employee trust when implementing analytics systems. Key insight: when used ethically, data enables more informed, compassionate, and personalized HR decision-making. Past, traditional HR at Microsoft. Before Satya Nadella's leadership, Microsoft's HR practices reflected a classic, rigid, and performance-centric model: bureaucratic, top-down HR systems, toxic stack ranking performance reviews, a culture driven by internal competition rather than collaboration. HR focused on administration, compliance, and enforcement. This represents the old HRM, where human resources had limited influence on strategy or culture. Present, strategic HR transformation. Under Nadella's leadership, Microsoft transitioned into modern, strategic HRM by embedding a growth mindset culture across the company, redesigning performance management with continuous feedback, Promoting empathetic and inclusive leadership, integrating diversity, equity, and inclusion into core strategy, using people analytics and digital tools to improve decision-making. This reflects the present-day HRM model, where HR is a strategic partner, shaping organizational culture, leadership, and innovation. Future, HR leading innovation and resilience. Microsoft is also actively shaping the future of HR, with initiatives that include building resilient hybrid and remote work. Ecosystems, investing in neurodiversity and mental health inclusion, leading in ethical AI adoption in HR systems, expanding AI-driven upskilling and personalized learning. Embedding sustainability and ethics into future people strategy. This shows Microsoft's role as a forward-looking HR innovator, preparing for the challenges of the 21st century workforce. Your turn, viewer questions. Now that you've seen Microsoft's HR transformation, here are 5 reflection questions for you and your team. 1. What tools can you use to make people data actionable, while protecting employee trust? 2. Do you currently operate in a fixed mindset or growth mindset culture? 3. How would you redesign performance management to encourage learning over judgment? 4. What role does HR play in shaping leadership behaviors in your organization? 5. How can you ensure inclusion is operationalized, not just spoken about? If you found this breakdown insightful, give us a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more real-world case studies on modern HR. Next time on HR Masterclass, we'll examine how another global firm tackled workforce transformation to prepare for a tech-enabled, purpose-driven future. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep transforming HR.